So we're going to look at 10 major M&A mistakes and how to avoid them. Some of the common mistakes, common failures that we've encountered over the years, you want to avoid, prejudging. You want to avoid giving any business advice. So let's take the prejudging aspect side of things. So you want to keep an open mind about the seller of the business that you're in discussion with. Don't give business advice. You want to really focus on asking the right questions so you can get as much information as possible from the seller of a business in that first meeting or call that you're having with them. Being aggressive on price, it's a no-no. You don't really want to focus on the discussions on price, especially in that first meeting. Focusing only on motivation to sell can become a little bit irritating for sellers of businesses. So you want to really touch very, very gently on this, and you will get that answer during that course of first meeting and first call that you're going to have with the seller of the business. One of the other failures is going into these meetings unprepared. At the very least that you can do is basically do some desktop due diligence. So a quick overview of the public information that is available about the target. And also, incidentally, we will share with you a lot of information before that meeting as well. So it's important that you go into this as prepared as possible. Assuming that the seller is desperate to sell the business is another of those failures. And you got to assume that basically the sellers are prepared to engage with you in good faith, but never assume that they are desperate to actually sell the business. Moving on, negotiation failures. This is really, really important because obviously quite a lot of deals can fail at this stage. And what are the common failures here? Going in too low. The temptation to make an offer that can seem derogatory to the seller is something that you want to avoid. And you want to make an offer that you would accept, and also leave that 20% margin for negotiations. Very important. Another failure is offering low remuneration on consultancy. Offer the seller a job that you would accept. Another thing here is assuming that there are no other interested parties. Remember that good businesses are always sought after, so you don't want to become too complacent. Taking too long to respond. The key thing here is, of course, that you might lose the seller. So what you want to do is you want to keep that momentum going, keep those discussions going. Moving on, asking for a higher valuation with no rationale. Usually there is that seller bias here. There is that sentimental opinion about how much their business is worth. And also advisors, sell-side advisors, instilling that unrealistic expectation about the business. Now, there are a couple of solutions here. Number one, here at Chelsea Corporate, we provide that comparable evidence between price and deal structure. So it brings a dose of reality in terms of the kind of deals that we've done in a particular sector, or we are aware of the sort of deals and valuations that were done in the sector. Second solution, of course, is for you as a buyer or business to have options available. So if you have a good flow of appropriate targets at every stage of the process, you are not necessarily prone to kind of being under the pressure of doing a deal with a business that has unrealistic valuation expectations. Due diligence failures. Some of the failures that the due diligence tends to bring is that you see a drop in the turnover. So in that kind of situation, you want to extend the earnout. If there is a drop in profitability, again, you look at the earnout as well. If the DD finds a contingent liability, you might look at cash retention. And I mentioned the COVID-19 effect. Obviously, businesses have had a very, very difficult year. Most of them either have been stagnant or have seen a drop in profitability. Few have done obviously exceptionally well. But in the case where there is that COVID-19 effect, you want to extend the earnout and also change the year end as well. Share purchase agreement failures, copy and paste agreements. Please don't do that. Use an M&A lawyer. Don't make these kind of mistakes. It's very important that you have the right advice for a very, very crucial period really of the process of buying a business. So again, going unrepresented, thinking that you can do this on your own, it's definitely not advisable. Sometimes as part of those failures, really you got agreements that are out of context. So you want to be very reasonable here. You want to review the agreements, make sure the documents are fit for purpose. Also, incidentally, understand you're a lawyer, but also control the process as well. Accept that there are risks involved in the process of buying a business. Talking about the deal before it actually closes. So, depending on the terms of the heads of terms, informing outsiders about the deal, that may lead to a breach of confidentiality. So, if one or both of the companies are public, then of course that is a big no-no. You really have to avoid doing that. But even if it is if they are private companies, then disclosing that information could be very harmful to both parties really. So I think the simple solution here is don't disclose anything about the process, don't disclose anything about the party that you're engaged with, and basically leave that until the deal is completed. That's very, very straightforward. Failing to understand who really has the power. Typical failures that we come across here is that during M&A process, the power can oscillate between buyer and the seller. You should have a sense about your power and the strength of your negotiation standpoint, if you like. So the solution here really is that misplacing a strong hand is certainly bad, but misplaying a weak hand is even worse. Failing to understand the amount of power you have increases the odds that you will misread the situation. So at every stage of the process, when you're in discussions with sellers of businesses, know where you stand. Very, very important. Judging the opposition is an extension really of a couple of points that we discussed above. This tends to happen regularly. We kind of misjudge the way they look, perhaps. Maybe they are too quiet, maybe they are being a little bit guarded. You never want to take for granted your superiority over the other side. Sellers appearing unsophisticated. It does happen quite a bit, and you'd be surprised how sophisticated in fact they are. So you really you want to be mindful of that. But also is a good idea to have an advisor to fight your corner. And one of the reasons there for having an advisor is that they would have been in all sorts of situations on behalf of buyers of businesses in various sectors and so on. And it's that experience really that counts so much during that stage of the process. Calling the seller's employees without permission, this is something that you absolutely want to avoid. So tipping off an unsuspecting employee, letting slip that he or she is buying the company and that the employees will soon have a new boss, it's not something that you really want to do. Remember that as a buyer of a business, you're going to rely on the second-tier management. No matter what business you're buying, employees are going to be really your biggest asset. So you want to avoid the situation where you may antagonize them or basically lose them. Finally, contacting the seller's customers, vendors without permission, again, is an extension of the previous one really, and you want to avoid the typical failures here. They are overzealous buyer, obviously keen to get their feet under the table and get going with the business that they're about to buy. It's very important that you avoid that. So it's a huge no-no. Refrain from making contact until the appropriate time, essentially until the deal is done. Customers are the most important relationship for a seller and the buyer, and by definition, you really want to carry on servicing these customers, perhaps cross-sell and sell more to them and so on, and add more value. So the last thing that you really want is upsetting customers. You don't want to do that. So wait. The solutions here are very simple. Wait until the deal is done.